Hello everyone, and welcome today to a fantastic game between Virtue Gaming Unity and Oblivion Esports here in the Aegis Defenders League. We've already started into our pick and ban phase, and we have already gotten a selection of Caitlyn on the side of Unity, and for Oblivion, a first pick of Leona. I'm today Nyarko here with the birthday boy, Moose. Moose, what do you think about these picks so far?
Yeah, it's nice to see you as well. Shout out again to the Aegis Defenders League and as well Virtue Gaming and all of that fun stuff, because they are here. I mean, this is an auxiliary stream. There is a main channel, I believe, for Aegis Esports. If you don't know about that one, please definitely go check that out. But taking a look at the drafts, let's just dive right in quickly to the bans. Jhin, Nautilus, Yasuo for Unity. Oblivion decided to ban out the Camille, the Thresh, and the Lee Sin. So a bit of different draft choices. They went like Unity really focusing on that bot side. Caitlyn's available, so Unity's gonna pick that one up pretty much immediately. Oblivion though knows that if they don't pick up an ADC now like the Jinx or the Aphelios, that it's probably going to get banned out. So most likely going to be their last pick there. And they've already got a really strong front line ready to go. Oblivion, they're picking up the Leona, they're picking up the Xin Zhao, and they're going to have a really, really strong front line all ready to go.
Definitely picking those early engaged champions. Xin Zhao obviously notorious for their level 2 ganks. I'm really excited to see the fact that Camille is bound out so early by Oblivion. Looking at the play history for Virtue Gaming Esports, we see their top laner, A Wild Terry, was putting a ton of work, a ton of practice games in on that Camille, and oftentimes hard carrying from the looks of it in solo queue.
You know, it's interesting there for Unity. They've made the decision to pick up the LeBlanc now. It's maybe that's a comfort pick. Maybe that's, hey, you know, we want to be able to get that assassination type of champion available. But it does mean that you do run the risk of getting countered here, and the Galio is going to get picked up. I think that that's a pretty solid choice, rock solid choice, as it were, for Oblivion here. So now you're looking at a triple frontline threat ready to go, and that's going to mean that you need to see Oblivion pick up some high damage here. I mean, the Jinx, I still feel like that's going to be a pretty viable option. And what worries me now is that regardless of what they choose, they really need to be able to get that damage in as quickly as possible, or at least have enough damage to be able to play to the mid-late game. So a Gwen might be a good choice. We might see maybe another really hard carry champion come through in the top lane, as well as your high damage dealer in the ADC, like I would recommend an Ezreal, for example, here, given how much initiation they have. And Oblivion is banning out some of these other champions that could potentially flex, the Sylas, the Viego, and Unity. I mean, sensing the blood in the water, taking out that really high priority Jinx, not letting that go into Oblivion's hands.
Yeah, definitely echoing those concerns that you brought up of not choosing an ADC on Oblivion's side within those first 3 picks. We're already seeing a Jinx ban, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another ban coming through for an ADC, and there's the Tristana.
Yeah, so I mean, again, just trying to be able to take out those scaling hyper carry champions against Oblivion, specifically Oblivion's ADC Esmond, a Diamond 2 player. So remember, you know, this is a very competitive league, Aegis Defenders. You have, you know, Diamond, Platinum players. I believe one Master is allotted to both teams. At this point, neither team does have a Master player on their roster, but still, you know, having the opportunity to be able to get that available is going to be important. But with that being said, you expect high diamond level players to have multiple champions available in their pool to be able to combat maybe getting draft sniped here, which was definitely the play against Esmond. 3 ADCs getting banned, a support ban as well. So really diving deep into the pool here, game 1 for this ADC, and the Kai'Sa is going to be the choice, which is a bit flexible. You can put more AP emphasis on the Kai'Sa, but at this point it's looking like she's gonna have to go pure AD, just really put out that damage.
Yeah, and Unity here picking up the Ornn and the Kindred to round out their team comp. I really like that choice for the tanky Ornn in the top lane, and the ability to upgrade the items onto these high damage characters in Caitlyn and Kindred, I think will lead to a really interesting composition, especially as we push later on into the game.
I'm not unhappy with the Ornn. I just think that there were better options that could have been available for them. You're allowing now Oblivion a way out, because the Ornn pick isn't going to really become viable at the very least until level 6 when he's able to pick up his Call of the Forge God, and then he really starts to come online when he's level 13, level 14, and he's able to get those upgraded mythic items, and that's definitely going to be something that's important. But it leaves the door open for Oblivion to have a really strong early game and make it impossible for Unity to get there. You have the Xin Zhao, who's going to be really strong, throughout the entirety of the game, but is going to be coming online a lot quicker than, say, the Kindred is for Unity. So Hair's going to have, a really tough time very early on. Xin Zhao has the opportunities to potentially go in for some ganks, so those early warding opportunities and maybe having a really clear path for your jungle to make sure that they're safe to be able to get that first clear is going to be really important here. And with the Kindred as well, it means that there's going to be a little bit less than ideal ganking potential until level 6 happens. Like, you're really kind of on the back foot here, I feel, moving into the first 5-10 minutes. And so it's really up to Oblivion in this window to put in as much power as possible, get those early dragons, or really try to focus on an early Rift Herald to make sure that Oblivion gets to a point that they can just get the snowball going, and whatever damage Caitlyn and LeBlanc can go for as we move into the mid game isn't going to be allowed.
That's definitely a really good point, and we see the set rounding out Oblivion's draft here, going to go into that top lane. A brawler that kind of echoes a lot of those points you were bringing up about the early game power that Oblivion has, that pressure that they're able to put onto things such as the top lane against the Ornn. How do you think we're going to see the junglers pathing early on in this game?
I wouldn't be surprised if Nore, the Oblivion jungler, decides to go for a bit more of an aggressive strategy. Maybe he even goes for the quick, easy 3. He starts, they're starting red side, so, you go red, Red Raptors, Romp to get level 3, or Red Raptors, Romp Blue, and just really try to rush down to the bot lane and try to get the bottom lane off to a bad start early on. There are other opportunities to be there. Like, you have an opportunity to find a nice taunt in the mid lane, and now you are able to kill the LeBlanc very early on, which is going to, again, just extrapolate the problems that the early game is going to have for Unity. So the eyes are on Nore, on the Xin Zhao, to have a really, impactful first 5-10 minutes. If we get to the 10-15 minute mark and we've got a even game, or even if Unity is in the lead, I'm worried that Oblivion is not going to be able to have the damage necessary to get through the Ornn and to get through the damage that can be really punishing against them. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point there. I think that we're going to be watching Xin Zhao's initial pathing and initial gank movements with pretty great interest here. Also, I'm just looking at the way in which Oblivion has kind of constructed their team. Do you think that Kai'Sa may be starting tier and going for an AP build, or do you think that we're going to see them more firmly kind of settle into an ADC style build?
And that's what I was saying earlier is, Kai'Sa does have some flexibility now. There's been strategies that involve, going Nashor's Tooth, going Crown of the Shattered Queen, and they're viable. They do work. I was playing yesterday, and I got hit with a W with a Void Missile that pretty much chunked me from half health to nothing. It was 1,012 damage at level 12. It was massive damage onto me. I was playing Talia jungle, but still, it does have the ability to put massive damage in. But if you go AP, your main damage carry, your main damage on the Rift is going to be that Galio, is going to be that Kai'Sa. It forces maybe the Xin Zhao to go more offensively on his build, be a little bit less bruisery, and more just try to get that damage in, which really isn't what Xin Zhao really wants. I think he wants to be able to stay in as long as possible. So I think Kai'Sa is going to go more pure AD here. It's all going to be just it's going to become more relevant as the game progresses. We'll get to see what they decide to go for. I don't think tier is a terrible first pick, but you are playing that tier tax. You are now again delaying your potential to have a really strong early game when you're paired with a Leona. So there are options. I think that the more offensive option is the play here for Oblivion, but we won't know until we actually get into the game, and it does look like we are about to get into it in the next 2 minutes or so. The delay is coming through as we expect.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that in general, the way in which you cast the Oblivion as needing to have a little bit of that aggression, a little bit of that power put onto the Kaisa going AD will be kind of reflective in how that bot lane also plays out. Karma, obviously a really fantastic lane bully in those early levels, going to try to chip down that Leona early. I'm really interested to see how that plays out. Do you think that we're going to be seeing maybe a lot of roaming from the Leona, trying to move away from that lane, trying to set up some plays mid? Or do you think that the LeBlanc is just too slippery and we're going to be seeing a mostly focused fight down in the bottom lane with both supports staying pretty well put?
If you're able to get Leona some control of bot lane, like say they get an early first blood, or the Kaisa feels like she's going to be able to stay manageable throughout it, she should be able to roam up, and at the very least she should be able to put in some wards throughout and try to maybe see where the Kindred is going to be at in her jungle round. However, again, it's all going to be relevant to the side of the game. I don't think that any ganks in mid lane are going to be really effective. Maybe going there to provide some assistance to the Galio early on to make sure that he doesn't get too bullied out of the lane might be a good idea. But there are options that Oblivion has, and there are options that Unity has. However, we won't know what happens until we actually get into it. We're going to take just a very quick break here. We're going to get into the game. We're going to get it set up, and then we're going to be back into game number 1. Oblivion versus Unity should be quite fun, and we'll be right back.
Can we bring to fall the giants? 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 We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
And welcome back, everyone. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're in the first game of Virtue Gaming versus Oblivion Esports, and here we are kind of hovering Oblivion Esports as they kind of group up and seem to be moving deep and looking for a first blood here. Caitlyn going to be immediately taunted by that Galio. Everyone going in, going to be able to blow out that Caitlyn early on, burning her flash, and as Cleanser well trying to get away. Unfortunate first blood going over to Oblivion Esports.
Yeah, Daiokai there with a really strong build and just found the play. They all went down bottom lane, and he's got Predator, and he picked up Boots at the very beginning. Like, this was a calculated play that Oblivion Esports knew that they wanted to go for. They wanted to go for the Predator. They wanted to get into somebody, find the taunt, find the damage, and get that first blood. And not only did they get first blood, but they also take the cleanse and the flash away from Arch on this Caitlyn. That is a much easier gankable lane now for Oblivion and for Nori to just really make it difficult for Arch to have a fun laning phase, as it were, Nyarto. So, really big pickup there.
Yeah, a fun laning phase indeed, and we see Esmond coming back to lane, bringing a tier as well as a longsword to bear while we also see both of the junglers deciding to choose their top side as the starting point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's expected here. I think for Nori, that is expected. You know, you want to be able to get Esmond off to the best start possible. Gets chunked out there with a nice little poke from Ichirat and Arch. But, you know, going for the red buff, going for the Raptors, that's still the opportunity for a very early gank against Ichirat and Arch here. So we'll see what they decide to go for. But other than that, it does look like it's still fairly even early game so far, barring that first blood.
Yeah, that Mantra Q going to do a lot of work helping for Arch and Ichirat to push in the bot lane early. Xin Zhao now looking to clear out his blue buff and maybe look for that gank you were talking about. There is a ward on Oblivion Esports side in that river alongside one a little bit further up for Virtue Gaming. So it'll be interesting to see how reactive that bot lane is going to be to a potential gank from that Xin Zhao. Meanwhile, it looks like Galio is peeling away from that mid lane a little bit and walking down.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate there. It does look like, you know, if Zohair goes any further up, yep, he's going to get spotted by that ward that Oblivion did put drop down. So any sort of gank is not going to be there. And it's a little bit of a bad news bear situation. Bad luck for Zohair. He decided to go for the Scuttle Crab on the bot river, and unfortunately unable to get the mark on his side of the rift. However, he does still get that Scuttle Crab. That is still an objective that they're taking. And you can see Quality Player, he's trying to just pay attention to where Nori is at. He knows where the Scuttle Crab is at, and he's gonna actually get some damage onto him.
Yeah, that's a nice little trade and chunk of damage coming down. We also have the set missing out of the lane, though, trying to rotate down to the Scuttle Crab, knowing that the mark is on it. Kindred probably just going to have to let this one go and just starts clearing out Raptors. Ichirat inching forward a little bit here, maybe looking to continue to pressure Esmond and Pierceblade off of the wave. And we see Galio finally returning to lane. no Daiokai, trying to get a bit of an engage and a good chunk of damage onto Quality Player.
And remember, he's able to get he got the Dark Seal as well. So he has, you know, this idea that he's going to be able to really carry in this early game. And once we hit level 6, you know, once he gets level 6 and he can use Heroic Entrance, any lane is a target at that point. But for right now, he's still level 4. It's going to be Nore trying to do what he can. It does look like there is some action here in the top lane.
Ooh, good knockup by a Wild Terry, but here comes Xin Zhao. Nore coming to pressure Ornn right back off of that wave and back off of the set. But once again, a really good trade going in favor of a Wild Terry there.
Yeah, really, really strong from Nori. Like, we expect them to come through, but what's been really shocking, wow, is so much damage comes through. The Zenith Blade lands into the root.
Yeah, that root alongside that Glacial Augment choice for Leona early game like that is going to lead to a lot of shutting down of what is otherwise a decently mobile lane with the ability for Karma to speed people up with Mantra E there. Kindred waiting in the wings, just trying to harass and trying to stop some backs here. They're going to dive onto them, and unfortunately Zohair is going to be punished hard for his choice on that harass right there. Also Nore in the area now trying to ensure a safer back for Pierceblade. LeBlanc is down and going to get the root off and gonna just get right back out of there in classic LeBlanc fashion. A good amount of damage going onto Pierceblade, but no kill for Virtue Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, this is as perfect, not as perfect, but this is a pretty well done early game for Oblivion Esports. Esmond getting a 2-0-0 set CS score right now. He's behind in CS, so I mean, the gold is probably going to be about even here. Arch might actually even be in the lead if we look at gold, but with that first blood gold, with the extra kill that he was able to get onto Zohair, picks up the Caulfield's Warhammer along with, like you said, that early tier. So, you know, the makings of a really strong Kai'Sa are in the area, but now Zohair looking again in the top lane.
Yeah, tuning right back into the thick of it. We're going to have a good knockup from the ultimate coming down from the Ornn. A Wild Terry going to continue to pump damage in alongside Zohair, and that's going to be a kill going over to the jungler of Virtue Gaming.
Yeah, big there, able to get Zohair on the board, but trying to also be able to get this Scuttle Crab. Can he do it? Heroic Entrance is going to get used.
Heroic Entrance, this is now going to be a 3v2, now moving on to a 2v2, and a rotation up from Pierceblade is going to turn this fight in Oblivion Esports' favor really quickly there. It looks like now Ornn rotating down, maybe getting engaged on with a slight back off there. Both of the ADCs now alone in the bot lane.
I mean, that was a pretty heads-up play. Because Esmond is so far ahead, Peachblade or Pierceblade is allowed to, roam up and try to go for these aggressive plays. And so he was there to just provide that extra presence and make Unity like play on their toes a little bit there. And that was a fight that Unity did not have to go for. They knew that Terry did not have Call of the Forge God. Zohair is still level 5, so he wasn't able to use, Lamb's Respite. And that just results in a really easy pickup there for Oblivion. Daiokai just using the heroic entrance gets a 3-man knockup as well. So really well done from Oblivion Esports and Unity, having a really tough early game, but another play on Ravencat.
Yeah, Zohair flashing in, trying to get the kill here onto Mr. Ravencat, who's going to be walking away with just over 100 health right there. But this is going to allow for a pretty large crash onto the tower. Meanwhile, we have Norray waiting in the wings, trying to see if there's going to be a collapse following this dive. Good ult by the second of Facebreaker, everyone in, and that's a disaster for Virtue Gaming. Oblivion Esports managing to get a double kill onto what was initially a very pressured set.
Man, Mr. Ravencat did not even need the assistance. He says, don't worry, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And he picks up a pretty easy double kill there. But another Zenith Blade.
Yeah, good Zenith Blade going to force the flash out of Arch here. Itchy Rat trying to peel as much as possible, but there's a great stun coming from the Leona onto Itchy Rat. Itchy Rat having to run under tower, and unfortunately he's still going to get popped there by the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa now up 3 kills and starting to even now that CS gap, even with Arch firing off their ultimate. Oh, and that's a flash taunt in by Daiokai, but unfortunately that's just going to trade. Arch getting some gold back from that attempted dive.
I mean, it's something, getting Arch a kill there does allow for that extra dagger. He's picked up the components for that Kraken Slayer, but Esmond with a sub 10-minute completed item, a sub 9-minute Mana Mune is huge for Esmond and his damage and the potential snowball that Oblivion can go for. And just across the rift, we're seeing that, unfortunately for Zohair, he just hasn't been able to find the production that he's been looking for. Yes, he got one gank off of Mr. Ravencat, but other than that, he hasn't really been able to find anything too productive, and this has allowed for Esmond to get pretty early on aggression here. Yes, we see that 2 turret plates were taken by Unity, which is good for Arch. That bully nature that Itchy Rat and Arch have with the Caitlyn Karma is good to be able to get some extra gold in his pocket, but still behind and is still feeling the pressure of this now 3-0-0 Kai'Sa as the next neutral objective that could be on sites for both teams going to be that Earth Drake.
Yeah, that Earth Drake up right now, and the ability for Oblivion Esports to kind of walk as they please around the map may mean that it'll be very difficult for Virtue Gaming to get any kind of priority to contest these neutral objectives. It's also notable that Rift Herald is also up, which could be something that the teams will contest over. Oh, that is a great approach by Pierceblade. That Zenith Blade coming in a stun with Norray right there to clean up. It looks like Arch is going to go down, followed quickly by Itchy Rat, and now Zohair finds himself caught out close to the tower, having to use Lamb's Respite, trying to get out of there alive, and it looks like he'll be able to escape, but that's still 2 more kills going over to the side of Oblivion Esports.
Yeah, a beautiful Zenith Blade into the follow-up from Esmond using just the kit in general. That's why Kai'Sa Leona is so strong. You get Pierceblade that's able to get the root onto the enemy, and this time it was Arch, but then also Esmond being able to follow up and just lay down the law. 4-0-1 right now. There's no way that that Unity can defend that Mountain Drake. And I do want to point out, I do want to make it sure that you guys know, chat, I'm well aware that it's called Mountain Drake, but I always call it Earth Drake. It just looks like earthy. I get it though. I understand. Don't worry about it. I know my names of my dragons.
I mean, I could call it Rock Drake just to make it more diverse.
There you go. Have you played Arceus yet?
I have not, no.
I've heard it's really fun. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it. And given how terrible, as we get a pause here, given how terrible, in my opinion, the remakes for Diamond and Pearl were, I'm a little hesitant still to try to play it. I'm a Smash player myself. I just, that's the only Switch game that I play religiously. But it looks like it's supposed to be really fun, and it's something that I'm excited that Pokemon and just Game Freak have decided to try to go for, because it is pretty cool. But unfortunately, going back to this game, really not catching much of anything here for Unity. 9-2, they're behind by 3,000 gold. They need to find a play, preferably at this Rift Herald, like yesterday, if they want to be able to stay in contention, because the snowball is forming.
Yeah, that pause now finally going to clear up here. I hope everything's going to be okay for all the players. We see Orn. Oh, maybe another pause coming through right now.
Oh, no, it's just the client. It does this. It'll come back in a second. It'll come back in a second. Just you wait.
But yes, I am kind of sad that they canonized that it is pronounced Arceus rather than Arceus, which I've been saying since I was a child.
Yeah. Fair enough.
At the same time, that game really is what I've always had in my imagination as the ideal kind of next step for a Pokemon game. Mr. Ravencat getting a good wave crashing onto tower here. A Wild Terry going to have to clear that up, and that allows for a good roam down, maybe with Leona there, an attempt to kind of start that Rift Herald up, getting some good deep vision for Pierce Blade and Oblivion Esports and company there.
Now pay attention to where Zohair is at. See that ward that's placed on the that's placed near the dragon pit. Like I think that he either didn't get seen, but he has been seen now. So Oblivion knows that Unity has their pressure towards bot side. That means that Esmond needs to be careful with the turret about to fall. Arch and Ichirat have put in a lot of work there, and that's why we see Daiokai, pressuring down bot side as well. But if I come through,
flash in from Kaisa. Esmond trying to get something done here. Great grand entrance by the Galio here. No, Daiokai not able to get a kill, but is going to be able to D-push and keep that tower alive on its last plate.
That was pretty good, but it does look like another fight coming through. A lot of damage on from Terry.
Good dive, ulting the Ornn away from the tower here. Gonna stop that ult right in its tracks. Norray and Mr. Ravencat able to clean up that top side. And now with the Herald in the hands of Norray, we're probably going to see first tower going over to Oblivion Esports.
And, that was a little bit of a misplay there from Terry. He did not have to flash that. He flashed, headbutted, tried to get away from Mr. Ravencat, but he didn't catch it in time, and he ends up getting caught by the showstopper. And once you get caught by that, just the percent damage that he's able to bring to the table, you're not going to be able to survive that at this point. Not with just the components of a Sunfire Aegis. And so that's going to lead to him now being 0-2-1. And so far, really the only member of Unity that's having a stellar performance so far is Quality Player. He's 112 CS. He's completed the Cole, so he's in the lead against Daiokai, I believe, just by a little bit. But everyone else is really having some difficulties, and because the map has been spread so thin for Zohair, he has to go for these risky plays and has to go for whatever he can to try and get these lanes back on track, but it hasn't really happened yet. It's a 4,000 gold lead, so the gold lead has kind of stagnated for a little bit here, but still, the advantages are continuing to grow. The snowball is continuing to get bigger, and the ticking time bomb is starting to really become a concern against Unity.
Yeah, as we approach that minute-and-a-half mark before the next Drake arrives, we see that Galio mid on no Daiokai already has that Hextech rocket belt created, which will just kind of continue to assist in his ability to continue to roam around and impact the map. Even though he's down a little bit of CS, his ability to continually ult to various lanes has been a huge boon for Oblivion Esports for the time being, and now it looks like people are beginning to coalesce around that dragon, beginning to vie for that little bits of vision. Quality Player clearing out a control ward here and going to venture a little bit into River.
But right now, vision has been secured for Oblivion. Nore being able to drop some warding, getting that Scuttle Crab as well. So they have control of the river, which is what you want, right? You want to be able to have river control. You want to have mid priority, and the trifecta would be you want mid priority, you want bot priority, and you want to have river control. So you've got river control, you've got some mid priority as you're going to be pushing the wave forward. And on top of that, you've got the opportunity to maybe force Terry to teleport. So there are chances there, but you're seeing how aggressive the positioning is for Oblivion, and Unity not making the decision to maybe try to go up against this aggressive pushing has really, I think, seeded this dragon, and it should just go over to Oblivion here. But we'll see if they decide to make the difference here. But as we get to that, I have a question for you, Nearco. There's 3 drakes that this can be. It could be a Cloud Drake, it could be an Infernal Drake, or it could be a Cloud Drake. What's your choice?
Oh, I really want to see the Cloud Drake, actually. I think that a lot of these characters would be interesting to see with that extra mobility on either side, but particularly I want to see a Leona just turbo running at the enemy team after dropping an ult with that increased move speed.
Yeah, and because they've seeded the dragon, they do get that they get that tower top side, and we don't get the Cloud Drake Nearco. It is going to be the very powerful Infernal Drake. So plays into Oblivion's hands a little bit more. So not only do they get the tower, but unfortunately for Unity, Oblivion's looking like they're going to be able to get some damage and might even be able to take the tower bot side. So it's a tower trade along with having to seed the dragon. So I'm not necessarily unhappy that they seeded that dragon, but they will have to fight either for the next Rift Herald maybe, or even for the next dragon to try to be able to get some plays here. We're actually not getting another Rift Herald, but playing for the next dragon might be an option. I don't want to give them that beautiful dragon build. Hextech Mountain and Infernal is just really, really strong for any team. So I'm excited to see what they decide to go for, but for now, a little bit of a lull in the action.
Yeah, definitely. Players kind of choosing which lanes to pressure from here on out, where to vie for vision. I do want to say I am a little bit sad that I never got to cast a match where Chemtech was a thing. Rest in peace, Chemtech. You weren't as bad as everyone said it was.
You're incorrect. It was awful. It was no fun. As a jungler, the priority that Chemtech put on you to be able to perform well, if you lost a Chemtech Drake, or better yet, your opponent got Chemtech Soul, you just feel so bad because that was your goal. Like, you have to be able to get the dragon, but Pierce Blade in trouble.
Yeah, quality player and Zohair waiting there in the wings, going to be able to take down Pierceblade before much else is done. Nori going to be able to get in there to prevent any greater damage from being put upon the Oblivion Esports. But that was a nice pick by quality player there.
Yeah, big. Anytime that Unity is able to get a pick, it alleviates the pressure that they are dealing with. Look at the bottom blue or red side quadrant of the map. There's so much deep vision for Oblivion. Like, take a look at those control wards, the vision that they have. They know where Unity is going to be, and this is an opportunity when somebody falls, even if it is a support who, like, quite frankly is a playmaker but not necessarily the most important damage dealer. It gives you the opportunity to alleviate that pressure a little bit. They're able to push out the waves, they're able to get that play here, and we do get another Rift Herald spawned. Okay, yeah, I just didn't see it. So there is still that opportunity for Oblivion to falter here, but with the resets, does look like they will be able to get this Rift Herald.
Yeah, the positioning of Virtue Gaming once again shows them kind of moving to pressure objectives on the opposite side of the map. That tier 1 turret bot side probably going to be their next target, while they kind of handshake away that Rift Herald here. Wild Terry just going to bonk it once and get that deed done. Meanwhile, Zohair going into the enemy jungle, trying to clear out a little bit of vision and also get those jungle caps while they're at it.
Yeah, and this is the point now where Unity needs to start making their stand. They've seeded all 4 neutral objectives before 20 minutes. In my opinion, I've got a rule, if you seed all 4 neutral objectives, your chances of winning the game are fairly slim. So you're 0 for 4 right now if you're Unity pre 20 minutes, but your build and your game is starting to come online. You're only behind by about 3,000 gold. That's a manageable gold deficit. You've got Gale Force and the building of a second item for Arch, and most importantly, Wild Terry is level 13. He can start handing out those ornaments within the next couple of minutes or so. So there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel for Unity, but they've got to pick their position right. They've got to do the Baron dance really, really well, and they've got to be able to find those picks to be able to make something happen here. And we'll see if maybe this something happens now as they try to go for this red buff.
Yeah, quality player Zohair and Itchy Rat all here trying to pressure away Nore. Nore not backing down quite too much, though, especially with Ino no Daiokai kind of cruising down from the top lane there. It looks like Virtue Gaming is able to secure that red buff, though, and are just kind of happy backing off into the mid lane.
And, well, I mean, with Dragon spawning as well, this is a crucial fight right here, and they're not even going back, so maybe a fight happening right now.
Yeah, a good root going to come down from quality player onto Esmond, but not going to be enough to do any severe damage, especially with that tier 1 tower mid still standing. And it looks like we're going to get a bit of a disengage for now, as once again, Oblivion Esports going to be the first people into River, getting some of that pressure and getting some of that advantage over the Virtue Gaming team, which will now have to kind of walk in semi-blind. Here they come, moving S4, Wild Terry joining them all. Great taunt by Ino no Daiokai right into the backline. Lamb's Respite going to come down now. Esmond fit to stand in the backline until the right moment. Going to pounce on and get a quick double kill here, it looks like. Arch going to finish the... yeah, right now, Zohair also going to go down for a triple kill onto that Kaisa. 7-0-1. That's a lot of damage going over, even with that AP build that we were talking about earlier.
And that is Baron Nashor as well. Esmond cleaning up the pieces that were formed thanks to Ino no Daiokai and Pierce Blade. Beautiful taunt, multi-man taunt in the Pixel Brush. So easy then to drop that solar flare. Lem's Respite goes through, and yes, Ino no Daiokai falls, but that is only one person, and you kill 3, and you're able to get Soul Point, and you're able to get Baron Nashor. Like, the playmaking opportunity that Oblivion had, resulting in a pretty amazing turn of events for them, and this could be the final nail in this game's coffin.
It definitely feels like a death march is beginning to form for Oblivion Esports, walking down these multiple lanes, trying to get as much pressure as possible on the map. That gold lead that we were talking about earlier, having stagnated for a little bit, is starting to rise once again. Virtue Gaming is going to have to do something drastic here in order to stay in it.
And, you know, that was the call. You know, that was the play. They said, hey, we want to be able to contest this dragon. We don't want to give them the 3 dragon, the soul point advantage, because then they have the opportunity to, you know, pressure Baron, pressure the dragon soul, and force Unity's hand. But unfortunately, the fight just didn't play out the way that Unity wanted to. And
oh wow, that was incredible on Esmond's part. Great hit of that skill shot, and immediately going to lead back into a double kill. The teleport coming down from Mr. Ravencat, going to mean that you have 4 people running down mid with this Baron buff. This may be them looking to end the game, or at least take several inhibitors with them.
Yeah,
great taunt by Ino no Daiokai, forcing quality player to move back once again. Probably going to have to base, not going to be able to resist against that siege. And moving as for Oblivion Esports are going to start moving and pressuring that top lane and topside jungle.
They'll take jungle, they'll take the towers, they'll take even more of a gold advantage here in Yarko. And this is feeling like the beginning of the end here. You've got all 5 members up over in top lane. They just want to be able to get these inhibitors down. You've taken jungle camps, you've taken the power, and instead of, you know, overcommitting their resources, they now go back. They use that well-spent gold that they were able to get and picks up Crown of the Shattered Queen for Esmond, which is big after he's able to get that double kill, and now he has the playmaking potential of that stopwatch. We've got Zizonia's ready to go for Daiokai. So, you know, this is a pretty tough situation here for Unity at this point. They save the inhibitor turrets on the side lanes, but with a minute 52 remaining until the next dragon spawns and 42 seconds left on this Baron buff, things are looking grim as quality player just gets chunked so hard by those void missiles. This AP build from Esmond just creating so much damage.
Yeah, echoes of your Talia game.
Yeah, it's 1,000 damage on these void missiles. It's insane.
Yeah, Mr. Ravencat clearing out some of that vision bot side near the Dragon Pit, waddling around a little bit, maybe looking to see if he can pressure that bot side tier 2 tower. But the majority of Oblivion Esports right now are just continuing to clear out the topside jungle, get a little bit of vision, and figure out where they can kind of poke next before this dragon spawns.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like the only neutral objective that's available is going to be, the dragon, like you said, spawning in a minute. The only jungle camp that's up are the Krugs. But I mean, observer, like, look at the can we look at red side vision, Oblivion's vision right now? That it is so forward at the moment. They've got so much control of this jungle, and they know that they've got this game in the bag. And because it's an Infernal Soul by Cloud9, they have to make their stand somewhere. I think that maybe the play is to make their stand at Baron or at the Dragon, maybe try to get that Infernal Drake and give them that opportunity. But if they don't, that's going to be Infernal Soul for Unity, and that just might be enough for them to just finish the game off.
Quality player diving pretty deep in there, getting right back out, but not before getting chunked by yet another Void Missile there. That's going to be a lot of damage and may take him out of the fight as Dragon spawns here in a few seconds. Wow! Esmond once again hitting another Void Missile, doing that damage that we've now discussed is so notorious. It looks like the entirety of Virtue Gaming Unity are just going to go back into their base, wait to hold out against this incoming siege after Soul goes over to Oblivion Esports without even any contestation.
It feels like it's concession at this point, because Infernal Drake, just, you get that extra AoE damage that's there, and it's so difficult to be able to sustain through that because you don't really have that much sustain. Yes, you are finally getting some mythic items on you got a mythic item on your mid, you got a mythic item on your jungler that is upgraded by the Ornn, but that's not going to be even nearly enough to get through. Look at how much
Zohair getting chunked for basically half there by Esmond, just casually shooting out a Void Missile. Here comes another one traveling down the screen. That one luckily going to be dodged by everyone on Virtue Gaming. Ornn coming in, gonna get a double knockup. Mr. Ravencat, though, absorbing a lot of the damage and putting it right back into the enemy team. That's a huge amount going on to Virtue Gaming. Lamb's Respite coming out, but it's not going to be enough. Everyone's getting pushed back towards the Nexus here. Esmond gonna pop their stopwatch here, and that's going to allow for an ace to come through with no deaths on the side of Oblivion Esports. We are seeing the end right here.
Yeah, a pretty much flawless game there from Oblivion Esports. They played it well. They got the early game advantages that they needed to be able to get that snowball. And unfortunately, they weren't ever. Unity was never able to recover, and that's going to lead to game one going towards Oblivion. They now have the opportunity to close out this series in a 2-0 fashion in the next game. But man, you can't deny the power that Esmond was able to bring to the table. That first blood, getting that early tier, getting that early longsword, nor a 3-0-6 as well, having so much pressure along the river to make it so difficult for Zohair to be able to go in and try to be able to get these marks. It just worked out so well for Oblivion, and they take a pretty one-sided game.
Yeah, no doubt there. The fact that both of those early Drake fights went in favor of Oblivion Esports meant from there on out, we saw Virtue Gaming taking a much more passive approach in general, something that doesn't really work against a team with such a fed Kaisa on it, because basically from there on out, what we witnessed was just basically half the team being chunked before an engage even occurred. Oblivion Esports definitely coming out on top there in a pretty emphatic fashion.
Yeah, beautiful plays. I mean, coming in, and if we are, Unity, like, we want to see Unity be able to take this win, because we would love to be able to get to a game 3 situation. I can give you guys a hint. It is going to be red side, it looks like, for Unity moving into game number 2. There are several things that they can potentially do, and I think the most important thing is maybe getting a better sense of the draft. Now, game 1, the jitters are out of the way. The potential for, maybe trying to see where they should focus their play. They had 3 bans on Esmond throughout the pick ban phase, and it didn't even really matter. Esmond was still able to get Kaisa and go legendary. So Really fun, really good play there, and congratulations to a really solid game one.
Yeah, Oblivion Esports definitely showing their ability to dominate in multiple fashions. The Vision game that they were playing, it was incredible. It looked like the opposing side, Unity side, was lit up like a Christmas tree, frankly, there at the end. That ability to move that Vision line so far up and protect those neutral objectives as the game went on was really impressive to me. I'm really interested to see how Unity is going to adapt moving on into this next game. If we're going to be seeing a little bit more interactivity early from a more early game jungler, maybe something like a J4 or whatnot. It'll be cool to see how the draft develops from here on out, as you said, Moose.
Absolutely. And stay right there, folks. Definitely do not want to go anywhere. Game number 2 between Unity and Oblivion is going to be underway in just a bit. We're going to take a quick break before we get into that draft, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are here with the second game between Oblivion Esports and Virtue Gaming Unity. We have already dove a little bit deep into the draft and pick ban phase here, with bans coming out from both Oblivion and Unity in that first round, and a pick of Lee Sin and Viego, with Lee Sin going over to Oblivion and Viego going over to Unity, respectively. Moose, what do you think about these picks so far?
Yeah, man, Nyarko, I'm really looking for a strong Unity rebound here in game number 2. Like, first things first, like, I want to see them to be able to find a good draft. I want to see them have good opportunities to be able to get, some early kills and to potentially get the snowball going themselves. And at the moment, you've got the Senna, you've got the Viego. So whenever Senna gets picked, especially in 12.2, it's almost certain. I'm gonna lay it right now that it's most likely going to be a TK as the duo here. The Senna TK bot lane is just so strong, but this could be an opportunity for Unity to shake things up a little bit. They now, they force out Oblivion's hand because they know that they're going to get that is going to be there, and they pick out the Rel and the Tristana. This could be an opportunity for Unity to throw them a curveball and put something else with the Senna and make it a more formidable lane early on.
That's definitely a good point. I do think that the big meat wall of the TK alongside the Senna might be good into such an engage-heavy comp bot side with that Rel and that Tristana. But I do also agree that something to shake things up like this Rakan that they're picking right here would be really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think that was a good play there from Unity. It's deciding, hey, we're gonna show the Senna. We're gonna show the Senna as potential Senna TK, and they pick the Rakan. Now, the Rakan is to potentially stop some of the mobility that the Tristana has, deny the Rel some opportunities to be able to really be effective there, because Ragnarstorm, while effective, Rakan can get out of it, Viego can get out of it, and Senna might just be so poor protected that she should be okay. However, now you run into maybe having 3 front lines again, which Tristana loves seeing front lines because you're able to drop those grenades and get that massive AoE damage. Unity now has the opportunity to pick something like a tank in the top lane to, round out their composition. And Oblivion, recognizing that, gonna ban out the Victor instead. They want to be able to limit Unity's pool in the mid lane to make it a little bit difficult for them to have control. Now, there are several options that are still available for Unity here in this one. I'm excited to see what they decide to go for. I expect they'll pick top lane first here and then go into the mid lane to see what their counter is going to be. But let's see what they decide to go with. It's the Vex, actually. So they're wanting to see what the top side is going to be picking up here for Mr. Ravencat and letting Terry get the counter pick.
Yes, we see some pretty contested champions getting banned out in this second phase here. Corki and Victor obviously both being really high priority targets, not only in the Aegis Defenders League, but also just more generally. We've seen them almost constantly contested in every single professional scene here. And so we're going to be seeing both mid laners picked out here first with Twisted Fate Vex and Tahm Kench going to Oblivion side, going into that top lane there, even after that little change to how his Grey Health works. What do you think about this pick?
Oh, I think that it's a hover. I think that it's a, hey, we're gonna call your bluff. I think they're switching it up. I don't think that they're gonna do Tahm Kench top. I think it is a nod to the fact that they try to go for a play here. And no, it is the Tahm Kench.
They did lock
lane.
it in, yeah.
It is the Tahm Kench top lane. You know what? Fun. I'm all for it. Tahm Kench is a big meaty beef boy and should be able to give some good front line here. And something that Unity doesn't necessarily have right now is the ability to be able to go through multiple frontline champions. They don't have a lot of AoE, save for, maybe the Vex being able to find a good ultimate into the front line to be able to get that good fear. So you pick the Gwen. The Gwen is going to have some opportunities later on down the line again. Once the Gwen gets going, it's going to be big. But Unity, they have built a strong late game composition, and once again it's going to be Oblivion having the opportunity maybe to go in for a good early game to be able to snowball this one. But I like this draft a little bit better than game one. I like that Unity is going all in for this late game and the potential carry that Gwen can provide. Terry now not going to be relegated to a tank role, will have the opportunity to really show his stuff because he performed, I think, relatively well in the early game in last game. So this is an opportunity for them to really show off and bring this to a game 3 situation.
Yeah, Terry on that Gwen there is going to be really interesting to watch in that top lane. The ability for Gwen to also deal that true damage with the center of her Q will probably be valuable early in the lane against something as dominant as a Tom Kench. I do like the fact that Oblivion Esports here has also kind of drafted so many frontline champions with the ability to kind of go for kind of a neo dunk squad approach with the Tom Kench W, Rel W into Ultimate, and Tristana all being able to jump in and dish out a good balance of crowd control and damage. It'll be interesting to see how things play out as we move into the team fighting stage of the game.
Now, remember with that, though, Oblivion does have an ace up their sleeve, and it is this Twisted Fate. Destiny reveals. Destiny reveals and is going to make it difficult for, Senna and Viego to use that invisibility to be able to potentially stop the damage from the Tristana, from the Lee Sin landing the Sonic Wave, etc., etc. However, they also now have the opportunity to use that Destiny to get Tristana Rel off to a good foot. I don't know how successful a Destiny going topside is going to be up against the Gwen, who does have the Hollowed Mist. If Terry plays it well, which, at this level of play, we expect them to be pretty skilled and pretty, I would say, competent in their craft. I have no doubt that Terry's going to be just fine up against the TK, even if the Twisted Fate comes up, as long as the Hollowed Mist is used correctly. But you do have, now the semi-global presence of the Vex ult. You've got the global presence of the Senna ult. So these global ultimates, the power that Oblivion is going to potentially have in the mid lane is going to have to be important here. But when we get to the 15-minute mark, we get to the 20-minute mark, if Unity is able to survive the early game, come out of it with the Dragon, come out of it with the Rift Herald, come out of it with a gold advantage, they're going to look really, really strong and might just be able to take this game really quickly once they pick up those items.
That's definitely a good point. Virtue Gaming Unity here, as for those of you who are just turning in, down one game, looking to bring it back with this comp that you said, as you said, is oriented for these late game fights. I really am interested to also see how that Vex matchup mid goes. I haven't yet had the ability to see a lot of Vex games, but from what I have noticed, we usually see Vex chosen into champions that have dashes, just as she is known as that anti-dash champion. Into something like the Twisted Fate, I think we're going to have a pretty stable laning phase, if I'm correct, with people just kind of looking for the ability to roam, as well as just kind of clearing out waves and poking here and there.
Yeah, I mean, Vex is going to be able to potentially deny the dash from Nore to make it difficult for him to get in on that gank. But that also, I don't think, is necessarily the play that Oblivion is going to be going for. I think more of it is going to be towards pushing towards Esmond being able to get that damage in, because Esmond showed that he is a formidable opponent, and the bans show it too. Like, no ADC bans here in game number 2 for either team, because if you can ban so many champions out and you still get a legendary Kaisa out of Esmond, focus your attention elsewhere. And so the attention was focused towards mid lane. It was focused towards some of these top lane picks, taken off the Xin Zhao as well, which Nore played exceptionally well in game 1. So another early game jungle champion for Nore, playing as his Lee Sin, could really put in some pressure. Can continue to keep it going once he hits level 6 into that Dragon's Rage. But Zohair, this is a chance for him to redeem himself. Viego has the potential to carry games, and so the opportunity for a 2-1 sweep in Unity's favor is definitely there, and I'm super excited to see how this game plays out.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. And I also think that Viego has some pretty interesting bodies to steal if fights go in Unity's favor here. Getting Lee Sin, getting Tristana with that W reset, all those are really, really valuable. And we can see a very mobile Viego just kind of kiting around and moving around a fight, taking those bodies and just scattering Oblivion Esports.
For sure. And we're going to have to see how that plays out as we get into game number 2. Oblivion Esports now up 1 in this best of 3 series. Going to be up 2. Virtue Gaming Unity to be able to take this and get us to a game 3 situation. Will they be able to do it? We will find out in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here in Game 2 between Oblivion Esports and Virtue Gaming Unity. This time, instead of seeing a start on the red side for Oblivion Esports, we see them doing the same classic grouping pattern that they did to get a first blood in that start of the first game, this time moving through that top lane on the blue side of the map, seeing if they can maybe cheese out a kill here. Gwen occupying that tri-bush, probably being their main target.
Yeah, Dioka, going in for the Predator again, and they want it. Terry's got to be careful.
Yep, yellow card coming out here. Going to get a stun on to Terry. Terry going with Ghost Teleport here. Probably going to be able to get away here. Just a little bit of poke going down and no first blood this time for Oblivion Esports.
Yeah, so I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not going to happen. And so they don't get the first blood. They don't get that extra little bit of damage or that extra gold on it to Esmond, but it's still fine. We get a more traditional early game, for lack of a better word. But it also Unity now has the opportunity to play the game. They don't have to worry about that first blood happening. I would have liked to have seen them once they saw that the cheese was happening again to maybe drop some wards over on the red side of the rift. To maybe see where red buff is at. Didn't necessarily go for that, so maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity there, but all in all, just going to be a fairly normal early game for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. We saw the kind of void being left by Wild Terry having to back there, allowing for the group of Oblivion Esports to go over and get a ward onto that red buff on Virtue Gaming's side, which means that they're going to have a little bit of vision and have knowledge about where Viego's starting, that plus the leash, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, the big part about it is just getting the information. You don't want to get caught out, and you don't want to, see your TK fall early on, especially up against a Gwen. That it's such an X factor, but knockouts happening.
Yeah, W going on to Pierce Blade here, and nothing really in return. The side of Virtue Gaming getting that first level 2 advantage, allowing for Rakan on Itchy Rat on Rakan to immediately just get back out right there. Wild Terry and Mr. Ravencat trading a little bit in this top lane. Gwen getting a pretty solid wave, starting to crash into that tower top side, and we're getting a gank mid here. Norway gonna queue in, and meanwhile an engage also happening on the bot side of the map. Senna running away. Esmond gonna jump right in with that W, get a lot of damage in, but not quite enough for Arch to go down. Now it looks like Pierce Blade remounting, getting get that flip over the shoulder there, and now Norway going to be chasing after Arch, who is all alone. Rakan having to walk around the other way. First blood going over to the side of Oblivion Esports.
Yeah, great play there coming through from Oblivion. Unity, they were able to escape that initial play for Arch, but Arch had to use all summoner spells. Bot lane getting used once again, but unfortunately there was nowhere for Arch to go. All that he could do is just hope that he was able to get over to his side of the rift before he fell, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. The gank from quality player not necessarily getting the kill, but opening up the opportunity for Norway to pick up first blood, and will now be able to continue to keep that pressure going as this dominant early game jungler, just adding more pressure to him.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note here that Gwen has decided to back and go for Dorn's Ring on top of a Dorn's Blade as an early start here, trying to kite out Mr. Ravencat right now. That slow from Tom Kench coming in clutch right there and allowing for a lot of damage to be put onto him. It'll be interesting to see how this wave plays out from here on out.
Yeah, again, for Terry, playing for that early game, he wants to get as early damage as possible. Zohair is now in the area. They need this kill. Ravencat in trouble.
Yeah, a late E from Viego, making sure that Mr. Ravencat doesn't see where he's coming from until the last possible moment, and that's going to lead to a quick kill by the Viego onto the Tom Kench. Mr. Ravencat going to be a little bit behind here, going to be able to de-push that wave away from the tower and not going to be able to get the crash. Means that Mr. Ravencat's going to have to TP back to lane here as well.
Yeah, good kill for Terry, picking up that extra 300 gold, the ticking time bomb as it is for the Gwen has now begun. Once he picks up Riftmaker and has the opportunity to really put in the pressure, Ravencat's not going to be able to sustain through that. He picks up 2 Ruby Crystals to try to be able to just sustain through the damage. Terry is feeling comfortable right now, picks up that first kill, and now has the opportunity to get back in control of this lane.
Yeah, definitely. We were already seeing some of that true damage I talked about earlier from that Q coming in clutch against Mr. Ravencat, allowing for Wild Terry to continually poke through the wave back onto him. As we move down to the bot side here, we see Zohair within this bush right here, waiting for an engage. Itchy Rat posturing, looking for a play here somewhere. And for the time being, it looks like the wave is holding steady in the middle. Itchy Rat coming around, getting a Q off, but not going to land.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're playing it relatively safe here. They know that something's up because of how aggressive Arch and Itchy Cat are playing towards this. And there's really nowhere else for Zohair to go, but some damage in on to Ravencat. Terry in trouble.
Yeah, Terry, unfortunately, not doing enough damage with that ultimate and is just going to get nommed on by the Tahm Kench there. Mr. Ravencat going to go up a solo kill into the Gwen here. A Wild Terry going to go Leeching Leer on this back, and hopefully he's going to be able to do a bit more damage this time around as he reapproaches that top lane with a teleport of his own.
I wonder if Terry wanted to stay in lane solely so that he was able to get enough gold for the Leeching Leer, because he didn't pick anything up when he went back. So like no control ward, nothing like that. So maybe that's why it stayed in. But gonna be Predator used by Daiokai as well as the Void.
Wow, incredible play by Quality Player, getting that ultimate into the Q off to finish off that Twisted Fate, even with Nore in the area on that Lee Sin, trying to shield and protect no Daiokai. That was a great play by Vex, getting in and out of there fast enough and going up a kill in lane.
Yeah, big kill once again. Quality Player played really well in game 1, had some solid picks for Unity throughout the game, just wasn't able to ever get to a point where where Quality Player could really take control. But they now get first kill in the mid lane. They pick up the damage. They now have the opportunity to continue to keep that aggression going. But speaking of aggression,
yeah, Nore walking up through that bot side, trying to help with this push. Pierceblade and Esmond were taking a lot of poke there from the Senna. Arch doing that damage, but luckily they're forced to stay near their tower as Nore approaches through the lane. And this is going to allow for them to all move up and handshake what looks like an invade from Zohair and a Wild Terry.
That's a little bit rough here because the Destiny gets used, so Daiokai knows that the blue buff is there and potentially getting taken, so they just disrupt Zohair from being able to take it earlier, which again just delays them. And it's going to be a trade. They not only get blue buff, or the dragon, but it's also going to be Nori taking the blue buff and the Gromp out of this as well. So, overall, so far, pretty good play here for Oblivion. Unity is eyeing this Rift Herald and might just be able to take it. That would be a big pickup for them if they're able to get it.
Yeah, Quality Player moving up into that territory. Mr. Ravencat looks like he's going to be going and investigating. And there we see Zohair already with the Rift Herald pretty low. Some harassment going to come in, but Tom going to be forced to W away. And that is going to be a Rift Herald going over to the side of Virtue Gaming.
And so that dragon that they got, going to be that extra little bit of scaling, gives them the opportunity to go towards Dragon Soul. Mountain Drake is going to be next. And so now my question again to you, Niarco, what's this dragon going to be? What's this Dragon Soul going to be?
Ooh, I'm not really sure what my options are this time around. I would like to say see Hextech Drake maybe. I think that the portals would be really fun given the team comp. I think that Gwen getting another way to get back to lane faster is always fun to see. But overall, I'm fine with basically any Drake. I want to see how the teams play around whatever comes up next.
Well, we know that it's not going to be a Hextech Drake. That was the first Drake that was taken. My prediction, it's a completely arbitrary, but my prediction that it's gonna be the Cloud Drake now. This is the game for the Cloud Drake. You can tell me I'm wrong in the chat. You can give me your predictions there, but I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be Cloud Drake this game. And already the damage that could potentially come through is there. The early game is looking still okay, as we do get the Devourer coming through. Terry kind of in trouble.
Yeah, Terry having to E to the side and kind of back around Mr. Ravencat. They're going to trade back with the fully loaded Q, though, and kind of bring that back to even after being eaten right there. Terry's unfazed, basically, by that whole engagement. Going to continue to try to push that wave in. A W coming out from Kench. Kench having a lot of health, and Nori now being in the area might mean that Gwen's in trouble here. Terry going to get Senna ulted, and that is going to be a kill going over to Mr. Ravencat. Now up 2-1 against 2-1 against Gwen.
Yeah, another big play there. Almost was able to get the outplay, was able to drop the mist so that Nori wasn't able to land the Sonic Wave, but he was still able to get into the mist via the safeguard onto Ravencat, and then was just able to just knock Gwen down. And so Terry's gonna lose a couple of turret plates here, along with the ability to be able to get that teleport in. So going to be a little bit behind once again. Some of that CS is going to go back into Ravencat's favor. So would like to see the game go or swing back over to Unity's side. We're getting to the 12-minute mark, and this is a really good position at the moment for Unity. They're in a deficit of less than 1,000 gold. They're getting to that point where some of these items are starting to get picked up with the Everfrost, getting in for quality player, almost online for that Rift Maker for Terry. So, these next couple of minutes, if they're able to stay even with Oblivion, they're going to be looking really, really good.
Yeah, the CS lead top and mid coming through in the form of an early Everfrost for quality player, and top lane, as you were saying before, nearing completion of Rift Maker on a Wild Terry is going to be really valuable as we move towards the next Drake spawning in about a minute here.
Drake coming through. Again, my prediction for the Cloud Drake. I'm not going back on my word. I know it's going to happen. But Terry, again, is going to get devoured here.
Yeah, this time I think that's going to be within range of tower. Wild Terry taking a tower shot, but has Mr. Ravencat pretty low here. No ultimate, though, to finish the job off. Full stacks. It looks like with Ghost being popped, Gwen is just going to kind of run their way back to tower here, smelling something fishy with the Lee Sin hiding in that bush.
And Niarco, Terry doesn't run. He skips. He frolics.
Oh, that ultimate from quality player 2 going to force the blast plan from Ino no Daiokai. Definitely getting bullied out of lane here a little bit.
Yeah, a good play there. Again, just making it difficult for Daiokai to have a strong position. Teleport's actually going to get used by Ravencat to deny the Rift Herald push even further. They pick up 3 turret plates because of that. So, good play, good pickup there. Going to be able to get back to an even gold lead, but they are not in position to contest this dragon. Terry deciding to teleport topside. He knows that Ravencat is in the mid lane, so this is an opportunity for him to push forward. But now the almighty question, and is it going to be a Cloud Soul? Is it a Cloud Soul? No, it's the Infernal Drake.
A second Infernal Drake within these rounds. Once again, we see a kind of seeding of the Drake in favor of Oblivion Esports, kind of mirroring what we're seeing out of Virtue Gaming Unity in the first game as well. Perhaps looking to just scale up a little bit more, contest these dragons as they come on later, especially as you were saying before, we're starting to get people on Virtue Unity side getting online.
And it's important for them to get online. They need to be able to keep this game still as even as possible. Yes, it would have been nice for them to be able to pick up one of these dragons, but that's not the play right now. The play is to make sure that Terry gets as much gold and damage as possible so that she's able to threaten those side lanes for the remainder of this game. But quality player now going in.
Those Everfrost trades right there in the mid lane, both people standing rooted for a little bit, doing damage to one another. Quality player coming out a little bit ahead in terms of the damage. It's also important to note right here, the Rift Herald's about to spawn, and it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be the neutral objective that we finally start seeing Unity contest.
I think that this would be a good contest for Unity as well, just because they are so even in this game. It's a very low kill game. There's no one that's really ahead, and so this is the opportunity for them to make it happen. But quicker to the punch Oblivion is, because Ravencat decides to go bot lane. We get to see Esmond and Pierceblade get there first, and so they have a small window where they have the opportunity to, pressure the Rift Herald to make it difficult for them to go for it, and instead they're able to get a lot of damage onto this tower.
Yeah, there is a contingent of Unity moving up. It looks like we're going to have a fight going here. Recon W coming in, followed by an ultimate. We got Everfrost flying out, and we got Gwen ultimate as well, pushing back and chasing Oblivion to the tower here. This is most likely going to allow for enough priority on the side of Unity to take this tower as well as this Rift Herald.
Yeah, big play quality player finding the heat-seeking missiles as they needed to onto Esmond of all carries to be able to get his ultimate onto him. It's really, really big. They trade towers in bot lane and top lane. So, you know, there is a tower trade there, but because Esmond falls, any opportunity for any follow-up is gone. And so this is a really strong position right now for Unity to be in, as they are now looking to pick up this Rift Herald, their second of the game.
Yeah, right here, this Rift Herald coming through. Looks like Norre and Esmond are coming in along with Pierceblade, maybe looking for an engage in another fight for this Herald here. Pierceblade with ultimate at the ready, trying to find something here, gonna W on to nothing basically, and there comes the ultimate pulling in Itchy Rat and Arch, but it looks like both are going to be able to get out. Zohair in the middle of pit, trying to ult around, it hits Mr. Ravencat with that, trying to help heal people away from Quality Player and Itchy Rat, but that damage going over with Mr. Ravencat getting a kill.
Oh man, that was so good for Virtue Gaming. Unity was able to get the Rift Herald down so low, but Norre and Esmond were the ones that stole it away. It was a 4v5 situation. Terry was in bot lane trying to contest the push that Ravencat had put in earlier on, and so they stayed in mid lane, or they stayed in top lane a little too long. They didn't start the Rift Herald quickly enough, and so Unity is going to get punished for that really severely here. They lose mid tower, they lose the control that they got, and now they're behind by almost 3,000 gold once again. Unity's not out of it just yet, but they definitely had a misstep there.
Definitely losing that mid tower as well. Meanwhile, Oblivion still holding it up means that they're going to have a little bit more priority as we move into that crucial minute time period in which Dragon is about to spawn. It'll be interesting to see if after that loss at the Rift Herald pit, we're going to see Unity try to do something with this third Dragon.
Yeah, and they're, again, you know, they have the ability to get that damage and to get that team fight mobility there. Quality Player has had some great ults so far. Did fall in that last one, and only really picking up boots here, getting a little bit extra magic pen allows for Inono Daiokai with his passive to pretty much be even in gold, I would say. Maybe a little bit behind 26 CS, depending on how lucky he's been on the passives, but with Dragon spawning in 10 seconds and it being somewhat contested in terms of vision, this is a big play and a big time here for Unity.
Yeah, a Wild Terry on the far side of that fight. Gonna try to find a way around here. Looks like we're gonna get an engage from the Recon. There goes Quality Player in, flying in with their ultimate. Big Senate ult coming down as well, shielding a lot of the team. We're gonna get a large split here. Norway gonna kill the fellow enemy jungler there, and it's going to be a double kill going down for Norre.
Oh my goodness, massive play as the stun lands onto Arch as well. When the lick of tongue happens, Arch is gonna fall. Oh no, the Arco Unity, they had the play and they had the damage onto Norre, but the quick thinking hands getting a massive healing boost thanks to that Gore Drinker. Norre survives that play and is able to keep himself in the fight, in charge, and they're able to pick up another Drake and 3 kills out of that one. Super big play coming through for the side of Oblivion. Unity was so close to making that perfect for them. Had they killed Norre, it would have been a much different game, but unfortunately, he survives, and Esmond once again just dropping down the damage with those grenades.
Yeah, it's also nice to note that on top of getting Soul Point, you got a lot of kills spread out around the entire cast of Oblivion Esports here. Bounties on 4 of the 5 members, the last one being the Rel, who you frankly don't want a bounty on. This is a really good position that Oblivion Esports find themselves in. We see that gold lead beginning to widen as well, as it looks like Unity is beginning to push back through mid, trying to get a bit more pressure on the map, while Terry going to be contesting this bot wave.
Yeah, but this also now gives Oblivion options for how they want to play this opportunity at Baron. At the moment, Terry does have his ultimate, or his teleport, but is going to be in trouble.
Yeah, the same dance we saw a few times before. A lot of tower shots going down onto a Wild Terry. This is a lot of damage. Ult's going to come out, but it's not going to be enough. Mr. Ravencat, for the 3rd time, going to be walking a Wild Terry back towards tower, and Gwen is going to go down here in that bot lane. Unfortunate, and not what you want to see from a split pushing champion.
Man, walking on sunshine, Ravencat is just once again just able to find the stacks to be able to get the Devour, and Terry just going a little bit too far forward and gets punished for it, and still does have the advantages here in the matchup, because he has more CS. He's got the Rift Maker to give him that extra damage, along with extra attack speed. He's looking to be able to build that second item, Nashor's Tooth. So he does feel like he's comfortable to be able to get these kills onto Ravencat, but they haven't worked out. But once again, I want to reiterate, Terry does still have teleport. Quality player still has teleport, so they have the opportunity to dance around these objectives and make it difficult for Oblivion to be able to go for this play, and they're going to go for something now.
It's going to be a big catch onto Nore here. Going to be a lot of damage. Nore flashing over the wall, and now we got a secondary engaged Pierce Blade coming in with the ultimate from the W. Oh, Esmond going to jump into that backline, though. Going to do a lot of damage onto the Rakan, and now going to be chasing after Arch, who's running under tower. Inuno Daiokai also coming in, going to finish off the job. Nore on a rampage.
Once again, I keep on saying once again, but it is a little bit of deja vu here against Unity. Nore being the target against Unity that they want to try to go for. He survives once again. He built the Malamal Mortius. He has the Gore Drinker, so he's able to survive the burst damage that quality player is trying to go for. And they're looking to end the game here, Niarco.
Yeah, early teleport there from Wild Terry, getting right into the thick of it. But once again, the spike getting turned. Wild Terry going to get eaten and immediately killed by Mr. Ravencat. This is a disaster once again for Unity. A lot of damage with that knockup coming in. And now Zohair kind of split off from the rest of everyone else. Itchy Rat coming in, trying to peel people off, but that isn't going to be enough. One final W is going to do some damage to Inuno Daiokai and Esmond, as they're going to have to walk back. But look at this. It's going to be an ace for Oblivion Esports, and probably the end of the game as they push this minion wave into the last of the Nexus towers.
Shout out to Unity for keeping this game more even than last, but the result remains the same. Play of the game coming in from Nore, being able to use that Gore Drinker and getting so much mileage out of that Hex Drinker, Malamal Mortius. Really solid performance once again from this jungler. 6-0 and 11 on the Lee Sin. Did not die in this series at all, Niarco. Did not die once. I can't believe it. But he's able to pick up the kills. He's able to survive. And now he and his team take the win over Unity, and it is a 2-0 sweep against them.
Yeah, it is incredible to see the amount of pressure that Nore was able to exert on the map. That and the ability to synergize with the rest of the team. The amount of damage that we saw output in these two games from Arch was definitely a pleasure to watch. And it'll be interesting to see how Oblivion works going forward into the rest of their games. Virtue Gaming Unity as well, definitely showing some shots at brilliance. Incredible plays mid. I think that putting by putting quality player onto Vex here, we saw the potential for a lot of really great outplays on these AP champions, and it'll be great to see the evolution throughout the rest of the series with Virtue Gaming.
Yeah. And, Virtue Gaming, this is, I believe, week 1 of Aegis Defenders. So they're not, this isn't awful for them. Like, this is still the opportunity for them to come back next week and to have a really strong showing. And like you said, there were moments of brilliance, really shouting out quality player here, having, I think a really solid 2 games throughout. Unfortunately, other points of contention, the draft in game 1, the draft was a little bit better in game number 2 in my opinion, but then just not being able to get into a solid position early on when you play these late game carry teams that are essential that you stay somewhat competitive with your opponent in the first 10-15 minutes. It just doesn't happen. The steal, they had the right ideas. They get the first Rift Herald, they get that damage, they get the extra gold because of it. They even have the play. They get a good play top lane to be able to get the tower and then going for the Rift Herald, but they time it a little bit off. And unfortunately, at that point, it was the beginning of the end, because you give that Rift Herald over to a team that likes to snowball, that composition that likes to snowball for Oblivion, and it ends up resulting in the beginning of the end for Unity in game number 2. But again, this is still week number 1. There's still plenty of games and plenty of time left to play for them to be able to get themselves a good position throughout the regular season split. I definitely have confidence that they'll be able to come back into next week with, renewed vigor, vitality, and trying to show that they are a competitor here for this one. Virtue Gaming Unity is looking to do.
Yeah, for those of you who are just turning in, we just wanted to update you within this Aegis Defenders League. We just saw Virtue Gaming Unity go down to Oblivion Esports 0-2. But overall, in those games, we definitely, as we said before, saw some flashes of brilliance. And we also saw some very, very close fights, especially in that second game. That contestation at Drake definitely could have gone either way. And I think that if we saw a little bit more clarity within those team fights from the side of Virtue Gaming, we will definitely be able to see them be a real contender of the league going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Niarco, though, it has been a pleasure being able to cast with you. Do you have a Twitter or anything like that that the peeps can follow?
Yes, I do. It's a brand new one. It's at Niarco LOL on Twitter. Feel free to follow me there. I'm usually just updating people on whatever casts I'm doing across this amateur world that I just got entered into. And for you, Moose, thank you so much for having me on and having me cast alongside you. It was a real pleasure, and happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you guys want to give me an early birthday present or a good birthday present, as my birthday, like my actual birth time is in 30 minutes from now. It's 6:59, so I'll be able to get out of here and be able to celebrate that. But if you enjoyed what you saw here from both of us, please follow Niarco LOL on Twitter. Please follow myself at Moosecaster on Twitter. And we cannot do this without our producer, Benjamin's. Thank you so much for being our producer here for today's games. Definitely, really smooth production from you. Really, really appreciate what you've been able to bring for us. Allowing us to watch your feed and not having to do it ourselves was definitely a delight. But again, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Unity is going to be back again next week. I don't know who's going to be casting that one, if it's going to be on the main channel or not. Benjamin, can we get a confirmation on that, or do you know yet? Okay, sounds good. So we'll know for sure, and we follow the Twitters as well to figure out, when and where Virtue Gaming Unity is going to be casted. But until then, on behalf of all of the players for Virtue Gaming Unity, Virtue Gaming, as well as Niarco, Benjamins, and myself, this has been week 1 of the Aegis Defenders League. Have a great night, everyone, and take care.